Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're talking about something that's kind of a secret weapon for your future, even if that future feels, ages away right now.
hmm
It's about really getting to know yourself before you even think about hunting for jobs. It sounds a bit abstract, maybe.
It can, yeah. But think of it like this. It's about building a foundation so you don't feel totally lost or confused when you do start looking.
Right. Because knowing what you like, what you're good at, even what drives you crazy, that's powerful stuff. Not just for careers, but like for life generally.
Exactly. And we're actually going to track the story of someone we're calling Alex today. They really went through, it started off completely adrift career-wise,
Okay.
but eventually found real success and, maybe more importantly, happiness. And the key, they took the time to figure themselves out. It's a great illustration.
So that's our mission for this deep dive then.
Yeah.
To unpack why knowing yourself now matters so much for finding your way later, even if jobs feel like a problem for future you.
Precisely. And we'll see how these insights ripple outwards far beyond just work.
Okay, let's jump in. Section 1. Why even bother with all this self-discovery stuff? I mean, the job market seems so far off for some people listening.
Well, think about building with Legos. If you just have a pile of bricks and zero idea what you want to make, what happens?
Chaos. A messy pile. Maybe you stick a few things together, but it's not really going anywhere.
Exactly. That's kind of what job searching is like without knowing yourself. Confusion, wasted effort, maybe landing somewhere that just doesn't fit.
Okay, that makes sense. So what's the first big pitfall then?
Picking the wrong jobs is a major one. You see something that looks shiny on the outside, good company, maybe decent pay, but it's just fundamentally a bad match for you.
Right. Like the example of Lily, she loved animals, right? So
Yeah.
a pet store job sounds perfect.
On the surface, yeah. But here's the thing Lily didn't quite realize beforehand. She was allergic to cats, a big problem in a pet store.
Oh, no.
And seeing sick animals, it really distressed her.
Yeah.
So despite the initial appeal, the day-to-day reality was pretty miserable for her.
So the lesson is, what looks good isn't always what feels good. External versus internal fit.
You got it. That surface appeal doesn't guarantee it'll work for you personally. Then there's the second pain point, just feeling lost and confused.
Yeah, that feeling of drifting, jumping between jobs, maybe?
Totally. Like Tom, he worked at a pizza place, then a movie theater, then a clothing store. Quit each one pretty quickly because he just wasn't enjoying it.
And that starts to make you feel like maybe you're the problem.
Exactly. He started doubting himself, feeling inadequate. Now, exploring different things isn't bad, of course, but having some sense of what you're looking for, based on knowing yourself, gives you direction. It stops that cycle of just bouncing around feeling lost.
Okay, direction is key. And what about wasting time and energy? That feels like a big one too.
Oh, huge. Applying for jobs you're not really suited for, or maybe not even qualified for yet, that takes time away from, well, anything else. Studying, hobbies, exploring things you were interested in.
Like Sarah, wasn't it? She liked hands-on work.
Yeah, really enjoyed making things, building stuff. But she felt pressured, like she should get an office job. So she spent ages applying for them. Got a few interviews, but no offers. And it was discouraging because she was pouring energy into something that just wasn't her strengths or interest.
So knowing yourself helps you focus your effort where it actually counts. Makes sense.
It's much more effective. But okay, enough pitfalls. Let's talk benefits. Knowing yourself actually helps you find jobs you'll, actually enjoy.
Which sounds pretty good.
Right. Think about Michael. He was always that friend people went to for advice, a really good listener, and he genuinely liked helping people figure stuff out.
Okay.
So recognizing that strength, that interest, led him to think about careers like maybe being a school counselor down the line, somewhere he could use those natural skills.
And enjoy it. That enjoyment factor is huge for sticking with something, isn't it?
Absolutely. It boosts satisfaction.
Yeah.
Makes you want to show up, which leads to the next benefit. You tend to be better at your job.
Because you're using your natural talents.
Exactly. Like Maya, she was super organized, loved things being neat and tidy, always helping her mom sort things out, and she was good at it.
Mm-hmm.
That natural skill pointed towards potential in things like planning, maybe admin roles, project management later on. When you're working with your strengths, you perform better and you feel proud of what you're doing.
Yeah, that sense of competence is really important.
Definitely. And all of this, enjoying your work, being good at it, feeds into the third benefit, feeling more confident overall.
How so?
Well, look at David. He started off kind of shy, but then realized he was actually really good at explaining complicated stuff to his friends so they understood it.
Oh, okay.
And just knowing that, acknowledging that skill, boosted his confidence. He started speaking up more, even thought maybe teaching could be a path for him someday.
So understanding your strengths gives you this self-assurance that spills over.
Exactly. Into classes, talking about the future, just navigating life. It builds you up.
Okay, so summing up this first part, self-reflection is key. Pay attention to your interests because they're clues, and don't just follow the crowd.
That's a great summary. Your path is your own.
Right, let's move into section 2. We're calling this the ups and downs of not knowing you, or maybe the rocky road. So what happens when you actually start hitting the job market without this self-awareness?
Well, things can get tricky pretty fast. One common issue is applying for jobs you're just plain not qualified for.
Right. You see a cool title or a big salary maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Like Kevin. He saw an ad for a computer programmer job, great pay, looked appealing.
Right.
But he had literally zero coding knowledge. None. So, unsurprisingly, didn't even get a call back.
So the lesson there is pretty blunt. Know what skills you actually have before you apply. Be realistic.
You have to be. Otherwise, it's just wasted effort and potential disappointment. Another big hurdle is writing resumes and cover letters.
Oh yeah, those can be tough. How does not knowing yourself make that harder?
Well, if you don't know what your strengths are or what skills you've actually picked up from, say, volunteering or part-time work, how can you sell yourself to an employer?
Good point. You just list tasks instead of achievement.
Precisely. Look at Maria. She'd done some volunteering, which is great experience, but her resume just listed things like answered phones, filed papers.
Okay.
It didn't talk about the skills she learned, like communication, organization, maybe problem solving, because she hadn't really thought about it that way.
So self-reflection helps you translate experiences into valuable skills employers want to see.
Exactly. It lets you frame what you've done in a much more powerful way. And then comes the interview.
The dreaded interview. Yeah, I can see how not knowing yourself would be a problem then.
Huge problem. You get asked those classic questions like, what are your strengths? And if you haven't thought about it...
You freeze or say something really vague.
Right. Like Jake. He got asked that in a summer job interview, and his answer was just, I'm a hard worker.
Which tells the interviewer basically nothing.
Nothing specific, yeah. No examples, no connection to the job itself. You need that self-awareness to answer confidently and give concrete evidence. It's crucial for making a good impression.
Okay, so applying for the wrong jobs, struggling with resumes, bombing interviews, sounds rough. But are there any, hidden benefits to figuring this stuff out, even if it's through trial and error?
Actually, yes. Sometimes discovering what you don't like is just as valuable. Take Chloe.
Okay, what happened with her?
She worked in a really noisy, open-plan office, and she just couldn't concentrate, found it super stressful.
Right.
Through that experience, she learned something crucial about herself. She needs a quieter environment to do her best work. So next time she looked for a job, she specifically targeted smaller companies or roles with more private space.
So knowing your dislikes helps you filter out the bad fits. That's smart.
It really is. It saves you from repeating negative experiences. And on a more positive note, becoming aware of your weaknesses can actually be motivating.
How so? Isn't recognizing weaknesses kind of a downer?
Not necessarily. Look at Ben. He knew public speaking wasn't his strong suit, but he was interested in careers where that skill would be important.
So what did he do?
He joined the debate club. He proactively decided to work on that weakness because he understood it was relevant to his goals.
I see. So self-awareness turns a weakness into an area for growth, a motivation to develop new skills.
Exactly. It drives that personal and professional development. And finally, thinking bigger picture, knowing yourself helps you make much better long-term career decisions.
Like choosing the right field to go into in the first place.
Yeah, aligning your path with your core values and interests early on. Olivia is a great example. She was really passionate about the environment, even from a young age. That passion guided her choices in school. She focused on science, environmental studies. It set her on a path towards a career that genuinely mattered to her.
So it's like having an internal compass guiding those big life choices.
That's a perfect way to put it. It increases the odds of finding a career that's not just a job, but something truly fulfilling.
Okay, so the big lessons from this section seem to be: know your skills, understand what kind of work environment suits you, and start thinking about your bigger aspirations, even now.
Absolutely. Those are crucial pieces of the puzzle.
Now, section 3, unlocking your inner superhero. This sounds promising. We're talking about the really empowering side of self-knowledge, right? But also maybe the flip side, the problems if you don't develop it early.
Yes, exactly. Let's start with the potential downside of not doing that early reflection. Feeling stuck later on in a job you really hate.
Ugh, yeah, that feeling of being trapped.
It happens. If you haven't thought much about what you truly want or need from work, you might just grab the first thing that comes along out of necessity, like Mark did.
What was his situation?
He needed a job right after school, took one in a factory, it paid the bills, but it was incredibly boring for him, totally unfulfilling. And because he hadn't explored other options or thought about his interests, he felt trapped, like there was no way out.
So not knowing yourself early can lead to settling and then feeling stuck down the road.
It definitely increases that risk. And related to that, it can make it much harder to change careers later in life if you realize you're on the wrong path.
Because you've been doing one thing for so long.
Partly, yeah. And also because maybe you haven't kept that muscle of self-reflection active. Think about Lisa. She'd worked in an office for 20 years. Stable, predictable.
Okay.
But she always dreamed of opening her own bakery. It was her passion. But after 2 decades in a completely different field, making that leap felt huge, overwhelmingly scary.
I can imagine. It's like, who am I besides this office worker?
Right, which is why continuously checking in with yourself, understanding your evolving interests and skills makes you more adaptable. It keeps those doors open in your mind, makes change less terrifying if and when you need it.
That makes a lot of sense. Keep that self-awareness muscle flexed.
Yeah.
What other challenges arise from not knowing your value?
Well, a big one is not knowing how to ask for what you want or what you're worth.
Like negotiating salary, or asking for a promotion or a specific type of project.
Exactly. If you don't have a clear sense of your skills, your value in the market, and what you actually need or desire in a role, it's really hard to advocate for yourself effectively. Remember John?
Vaguely. What was his story?
He got a job offer, was thrilled, but he hadn't researched typical salaries for that kind of role, hadn't really thought about his own financial needs or what his skills commanded.
So he just took the first offer.
Yep. Accepted it right away without any negotiation. He might have left money on the table simply because he lacked that self-knowledge and market awareness.
Ouch. Okay, so knowing your worth empowers you to ask for it. Crucial.
Definitely. But let's flip to the positive side now. When you do have that self-awareness, it's incredibly empowering. Benefit 1, finding a career that genuinely fits your personality.
Not just your skills, but who you are.
Exactly. Think about Priya. Deeply creative person, loved art, making things visually appealing. That core personality trait pointed her towards exploring things like graphic design or illustration.
Where her creativity would be an asset, not just a hobby.
Right. When your job aligns with your personality, you feel more comfortable, more energized. It just fits. You're not fighting against your own nature all day.
Leads to more satisfaction, I bet.
For sure. And another big plus, being able to clearly explain your unique value to employers.
Making yourself stand out from the crowd.
Precisely. Like Carlos, he'd volunteered at a coding camp for kids. And through that, he realized he was really good at explaining complicated tech stuff in a simple way.
Okay, a useful skill.
Very. So when he interviewed for tech internships, he didn't just say, I know how to code. He specifically highlighted, I'm good at explaining technical concepts clearly, using his volunteer work as proof.
That makes it sound much more valuable, more multidimensional.
Exactly. It showcased a unique strength that maybe other candidates didn't have or didn't articulate. Self-awareness lets you pinpoint and communicate what makes you special.
Gives you that edge.
It really does. And maybe the biggest benefit of all, living a more fulfilling life overall.
Because your work feels meaningful.
Yes. When your job aligns with your values, with what you care about, it stops being just a way to earn money. It becomes part of a bigger sense of purpose. Like Aisha.
What does she do?
She cared deeply about her community, wanted to make a difference. She found a job at a local charity. And the feeling that her daily work was having a positive impact, that brought her immense happiness and fulfillment.
So knowing yourself can lead you to work that feels like a calling, almost, more than just a paycheck.
Absolutely. It connects your work life to your core self. So wrapping up this section, what are the key takeaways?
Okay. Reflect on past experiences, especially moments you felt proud or engaged. Ask people you trust for feedback. They might see strengths you miss. And remember that growth is ongoing. Your interests can change, and that's totally okay. Keep checking in.
Perfect. That constant curiosity about yourself is vital.
All right, section 4. Let's dive into Alex's story properly now, from lost to found. This sounds like where the rubber meets the road. Alex really started out without much self-awareness, right?
That's right. Alex finished school, felt that immediate pressure, gotta get a job, any job. Financial need was the main driver.
So they took the first thing available.
Pretty much. Ended up in a factory labeling boxes all day. It paid something, which was the goal, but yeah.
But money isn't everything, as they say.
Definitely not for job satisfaction. Alex found the work incredibly mind-numbing, zero sense of purpose. Just watching the clock.
I can picture that. And that wasn't the only job that didn't work out.
No, it became a bit of a pattern for a while. Tried waiting tables, worked in a call center. Either got let go or quit pretty quickly. The call center, for example, they were fired for not sounding enthusiastic enough.
Ouch. So a real mismatch between Alex's personality and the job requirements.
A huge mismatch. And this really highlights how crucial understanding your personality is for finding the right work environment. You can't fake enthusiasm day in, day out if the work just drains you.
And going through that, getting fired, quitting, that must really hit Alex's self-esteem hard.
Oh, absolutely. Feeling like a failure, wondering what was wrong with them. It's a common consequence when you're struggling to find your footing without that self-knowledge. Alex even started pulling back socially, felt embarrassed.
That sounds tough. But were there any little sparks, any hints of Alex's potential even during these rough patches?
Interestingly, yes. Even at the call center job that ended badly, Alex kept getting feedback from customers saying how polite and helpful they were.
So even in a bad situation, a strength was visible.
Exactly. It showed that core ability, that interpersonal skill was there. It proves you can learn things even from negative experiences. Those clues are always there if you look.
Oh, pay attention even when things aren't going well. What else?
Well, outside of paid work, Alex started volunteering at an animal shelter. And that felt completely different.
How so?
They felt genuinely happy there, energized by caring for the animals. It wasn't a chore. It felt good, meaningful.
That's a huge clue, isn't it? What you choose to do, what actually lights you up.
Massive clue. It pointed towards a passion, maybe for caring roles, maybe working with animals, maybe just work that felt hands-on and helpful. It showed where their natural energy flowed.
And was it hitting these low points, combined with maybe the positive volunteering, that finally made Alex start thinking differently?
That seems to be the catalyst. Hitting rock bottom, so to speak, combined with seeing a contrast in how they felt volunteering versus working. It triggered that introspection. Alex actually started making lists. What do I like? What do I hate? What am I actually good at? What drains me?
Taking stock. That's a big turning point.
Huge. It was the beginning of consciously trying to figure themselves out.
So what were those first key realizations for Alex?
Well, number one, start listening to your emotions. Feeling consistently miserable or bored at a job. That's data. It's telling you something's wrong.
Right. Don't ignore those feelings.
Number two, recognize your natural talents, even the soft ones like being polite or caring. They are valuable skills in the workplace. And number three, it's never too late to start this discovery process. You don't have to have it all figured out by a certain age. It can start whenever you're ready.
That's really encouraging. Okay, so Alex started figuring things out. Let's move to section 5. Alex's amazing adventures in different industries. This is where Alex puts that newfound knowledge to work.
Exactly. Armed with a bit more self-awareness, Alex started exploring different fields, but this time with more intention. First stop, education. They became a summer camp counselor.
Okay, why that?
Alex realized from volunteering, maybe even from those call center compliments, that they had patience and good communication skills. Sound like a good fit for working with kids.
And was it?
Yeah, they really enjoyed it. Helping kids learn, feeling like they were making a small difference. It felt purposeful.
And the risk if they hadn't known themselves, they might have taken a different education job.
Maybe one that needed, say, really strict discipline, which wouldn't have suited Alex's more patient style. So knowing their communication style helped them pick the right kind of education role for them.
Got it. What was next?
Healthcare. Alex worked as an assistant in a doctor's office.
Connecting to that caring side seen at the animal shelter.
Exactly. And maybe that ability to be polite and make people feel comfortable from the call center feedback too. They found satisfaction in helping patients, making them feel a bit better.
And the potential pitfall avoided.
Maybe jumping into a super high-stress emergency room environment without realizing that a calmer, more supportive role was a better fit for their temperament. Knowing that preference for a calmer setting was key.
Empathy and compassion are valuable, But the environment matters too. Makes sense. Where did Alex go after healthcare?
Technology. Just basic website design initially.
How did that come about? Was Alex always techie?
Not necessarily an expert, but they realized they actually enjoyed tinkering with computers, figuring things out. It was kind of a hobby.
Ah, turning a hobby into something more.
Precisely. And they found the work really engaging, like the creative aspect of making something functional and seeing it online.
And the risk here was just dismissing the hobby.
Yeah, thinking, oh, that's just something I mess around with. It's not a real job skill. So many people overlook their hobbies. The lesson is those interests can absolutely become valuable skills.
Good point. Okay, tech. Then what?
Retail, but specifically a bookstore.
Okay, that sounds potentially like a good fit, maybe, if Alex likes reading.
Bingo. Alex loved reading, and combined with those communication skills, it worked well. They genuinely enjoyed talking to customers about books, making recommendations.
And if they'd taken a retail job selling, I don't know, car parts, and they hated cars.
It would have been miserable, much harder to connect with customers, much less enjoyable. That passion for the subject matter really made a difference in the bookstore. It boosted their performance and their happiness.
Passion fuels connection.
Okay.
One more industry.
Yep, the nonprofit sector, doing community outreach work.
Ah, this sounds like it pulls together a few threads. The desire to help people, the communication skills.
Exactly. Alex felt they were making a positive impact, using a whole range of skills they'd identified. It felt deeply satisfying.
But potentially overwhelming too, working with community issues.
It could be, yes. But because Alex had that self-awareness, that sense of purpose driving them, they were better equipped to handle the challenges without getting totally burned out. Aligning with your values gives you resilience.
That's a powerful idea. And the outcome of all this exploration, finding better fits.
Well, besides being happier and more fulfilled, Alex actually started earning more money. Because when you're good at what you do and you enjoy it, you tend to perform better, get recognized, find better opportunities. It pays off, literally.
That's fantastic. A real testament to the power of starting with self-knowledge. Okay, section 6. Self-knowledge, your secret weapon in life. So moving beyond just jobs now.
Absolutely. This isn't just about your career path. Knowing yourself impacts, well, pretty much everything. Take making friends.
How does knowing yourself help there?
Well, if you understand your personality, like maybe you're friendly, but you also really need some quiet downtime, you can navigate social situations better.
So you don't overcommit yourself, or you seek out friends who get your need for space.
Exactly. Alex, knowing they liked socializing but also needed alone time, might join something like a book club. Shared interest, calmer setting, like-minded people. It helps you find your kind of people and build relationships that work for you.
Not just trying to fit into every social scene. Okay, that makes sense. What about hobbies?
Same principle. Instead of just doing what everyone else is doing, you choose things based on genuine interest. Alex started hiking because they loved being outdoors, took up painting because they felt that creative pull.
And because it comes from inside, you stick with it more.
Yeah, you're more likely to push through the tricky bits, like when the painting isn't going well, because the underlying enjoyment is there. It makes your free time actually feel restorative and fun, not like another obligation.
Aligning leisure with passion.
Got it.
And problem solving. How does self-awareness help there?
By knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, you can approach challenges more strategically.
Okay, give me an example with Alex.
All right, Alex knew they were super organized. That's a strength. Planning a group trip. Alex is on it. But they also knew they tended to overthink things, get bogged down in details. That's a potential weakness.
Right.
So when planning that trip, Alex handled the logistics, but maybe relied on a more laid-back friend to be the chill-out person, the one to say, hey, let's not stress about every tiny possibility.
Playing to strengths and compensating for weaknesses, even by leaning on others. Smart.
Exactly. It leads to more effective and often less stressful solutions in all sorts of situations.
So the big life lessons here are: make choices based on your needs, not just what others expect. Let your values guide you towards what feels fulfilling. And understand your emotional needs to take care of yourself and bounce back from challenges.
You've nailed it. It's about living authentically based on who you really are.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this all up, the main message feels really clear. It's never too early to start figuring yourself out.
Never. Think of that self-knowledge as your personal map. It won't always show you the exact destination immediately, but it helps you navigate, make better choices, and ultimately find your way to a future career, life, everything that feels right for you.
Yeah, a map for a happier, more successful future. So the advice is, be curious, try things, pay attention to what lights you up and what drains you.
Absolutely. Explore those interests, dabble in new activities, reflect on your experiences, embrace what makes you unique. Every little bit of insight adds detail to that map.
It's an ongoing process, not a one-time task.
Definitely. And maybe the most important thing to remember as you start or continue this journey is you've got this.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're talking about something that's kind of a secret weapon for your future, even if that future feels, ages away right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's about really getting to know yourself before you even think about hunting for jobs. It sounds a bit abstract, maybe.
It can, yeah. But think of it like this. It's about building a foundation so you don't feel totally lost or confused when you do start looking.
Right. Because knowing what you like, what you're good at, even what drives you crazy, that's powerful stuff. Not just for careers, but for life generally.
Exactly. And we're actually going to track the story of someone we're calling Alex today. They really went through, it started off completely adrift career-wise,
Okay.
but eventually found real success and, maybe more importantly, happiness. And the key, they took the time to figure themselves out. It's a great illustration.
So that's our mission for this deep dive then.
Yeah.
To unpack why knowing yourself now matters so much for finding your way later, even if jobs feel like a problem for future you.
Precisely. And we'll see how these insights ripple outwards, far beyond just work.
Okay, let's jump in. Section 1. Why even bother with all this self-discovery stuff? I mean, the job market seems so far off for some people listening.
Well, think about building with Legos. If you just have a pile of bricks and zero idea what you want to make, what happens?
Chaos. A messy pile. Maybe you stick a few things together, but it's not really going anywhere.
Exactly. That's kind of what job searching is like without knowing yourself. Confusion, wasted effort, maybe landing somewhere that just doesn't fit.
Okay, that makes sense. So what's the first big pitfall then?
Picking the wrong jobs is a major one.